Good evening. Tonight we have to see Allure, a film by Douglas Sirk at the beginning, well, in the middle of his independent filmmaker career in Hollywood, and I'm happy to have with us Carlos Reviriego, who is head of programming at the Filmoteca Española. Carlos.
Well, thank you very much. As Bernard said, I'm Carlos Reviriego from the Spanish Film Archive, Filmoteca Española. I'm head of programming, and it's a great honor being here in Locarno and introducing a Douglas Sirk film. It's a great honor and great pleasure, so thank you first to the festival, to the Locarno Film Festival, and of course to the curators of this wonderful retrospective, Bernard and Roberto. Thank you very much for the invitation. This retrospective is also going to be part of the program of Filmoteca Española. Next year, we're going to bring the whole retrospective to Madrid from January to March. It's going to be 3 months in Madrid to discover and rediscover the master of Douglas Sirk. It's not the first retrospective that's been held in our film archive, in Filmoteca. The audiences in Madrid had the chance in 1999, where it was held, was built, the first retrospective of Douglas Sirk. So it's been quite a while since then. And for now, for this year, 2022. Well, it's 2023 that it will be retrospective in Madrid. Well, trying to reach all the young audiences and rediscover this great master and what we can learn about his films and about him. But the Spanish audiences or the cinephiles really discovered Douglas Sirk before that retrospective in 1999. They discovered it in TV. It was in 1982 when the public television, Televisión Española, screened like 15 films, a selection of 15 films from his filmography. And there was a big name behind this job to introduce Douglas Sirk and his cinema for the first time in Spain, and the man behind this was a filmmaker named Antonio Drobe. Antonio Drobe is a filmmaker. He's not with us anymore. He died quite young, and he was a very talented writer, very talented director. They belonged to the first generation of the cinephiles, the modern cinephile in Spain. He belonged to the same generation of Victor Erife, with which he was friends. But he made, he was a very talented artist, but he made very few films, and none of them could say it's what we could expect of his mastery, and under the limitations of the Spanish cinema industry, or he couldn't achieve maybe what he probably wanted to achieve as a filmmaker. So Drobe, he worked in the public TV, and he was commissioned in the beginning of the 80s to do this series, or this introduction to the 15 films he selected for Spanish public TV. And he went to Lugano to interview Mr. Sirk, and he stayed there like 5 days. This was exactly 4 years ago. It was in June of 1982. And there he stayed like 5 days interviewing him, and he became like friends instantly with Douglas Sirk, and also with his wife, Helga. And he tells all this process in a wonderful book that he published later after doing this series, which is the book I have in my hands. It's Tiempo de Vivir, Tiempo de Revivir, which we could translate as time to live, time to relive, or to live again, time to live again, where we can read the whole interview, the whole conversations with Douglas Sirk and his real passion, his real knowledge and understanding of human condition, and of course of the art of cinema and other arts. The series, the TV series that he made of these interviews, and that was going to be shown, that was shown prior to all the films, the 15 films, it was 15 episodes he made in very hard conditions and with not too much time. This series has been seen very little. It's a series that can't really travel around the world due to the rights of experts, of fragments of films and music there are in this series of these 15 episodes. Anyway, we're going to show them in the retrospective in Madrid, along with the films he introduced. It's an amazing, really an amazing series. It's a mix of a lot of things. It starts just like wanted to introduce the films in the words of Douglas Sirk with those interviews he made, but it becomes something else, something more abstract with a oniric quality. It's almost like a Godardian dispositive with music from Chopin to The Doors and different excerpts from Douglas Sirk films that he manipulates the colors, he changes colors and tries in a sense to create something new from those films and something very personal. So this series that is not academic at all had like a big influence in the TV audience in those days. Has been something so original, so different to approach a filmmaker and to approach his work. I was quite little to watch that series. Of course, I watched it before, but I really am part of those of that generation of critics and cinephiles that discovered Douglas Sirk through this book in a huge sense. And he had the chance to live through his films in the mind of Antonio Drobe, how the films of Douglas Sirk, in a sense, affected him. And they say that this book, it's very, very personal. It's not just film analysis, it's not just conversations, it's also an autobiography of Antonio Drobe, of this filmmaker who was in a huge personal crisis, and Douglas Sirk, this commission, this work, to interview him, to analyze his film and introduce us to the Spanish audience was something that gave him back life. That's something that came back from the depression and the existential crisis he was in. So it's a clear evidence of how cinema, and how in specific Douglas Sirk cinema can change lives, can transform us, can make us another person. So in a sense, we're trying to find some inner truths in ourselves as human beings. And there's a big notion of destiny, of fate in this book. Things are written in the wind, like Douglas Sirk also was a great believer in what is destiny and what is to come and what we can do about it. And I think destiny has also an important role in the film we're going to watch today, Lord, which is a film that Bernard belongs to that period of first the films he made in the USA. It's from 1946, and it's like his third collaboration with George Sanders. He made like 3 films in a row with Sanders, and that great Hollywood actor. And maybe this is not the best performance of George Sanders in any Douglas Sirk films, but anyway, still a very revealing and very seductive role that he plays. Supposedly, Lord is a remake from a Robert Turigliatto film he made years before, in 1939, and it was a film that was set in Paris. This one is set in London. It's not the single changes, more changes from the remake. But anyway, Douglas Sirk, he said he never saw that film, Robert Turigliatto, and probably Antonio Drobe hadn't seen it either. So Lourdes is like a for me, it's like a great fantasy disguised as a film noir, which is rare in Douglas Sirk filmography to approach that genre, the film noir. But Sirk creates a world that basically sits within its own rules. Its definition of what's cinema. It really unfolds for me like kind of a dream, and it has this quality that anything can happen. It mutates. It starts like very straightforward, like thriller noir, like an investigation of a serial killer, but it becomes something else, and the plot really changes, and the face changes, the rhythm changes, the pace, and even the characters. It's also kind of mutation going on along all the film, and it is much more than we could expect from what we may think that it's a minor Douglas Sirk film, at least for me. And there are elements in it that are really interesting and really relevant in the filmography of Douglas Sirk. Not only the destiny, but the irony in it, which was a big deal for Douglas Sirk, and for the way his way with the actors in his ensemble, and the woman's world, how to describe it. Anyway, a film in which the poems of Baudelaire are like a key for the investigation for the police investigation, always deserves a lot, some sort of attention. I would say, in a sense, that it's a film about identity, or about the mutation of identities, the identity of something very elusive, something that we can't catch, and it's always mutating, like life itself, like the film itself, like Douglas Sirk itself, and it's different periods of his filmography, even his name, he changed. So there's an amazing cast to discover, really amazing, starring Lucille Ball. She's a dancer that becomes a Scotland Yard secret agent, so that's something really strange, really rare at times, not to watch a Sherlock Holmes or Philip Marlowe, but watch a woman as a secret agent and trying to discover who is this serial killer in London who kills with poems, who calls his victims with poems in the newspaper. So against all the topics, the blonde and the beautiful in this film, it's not the femme fatale, it's the protagonist, it's the leader. Also George Sanders in the film, as I said, and he plays sort of continuation of this Casanova that he played in The Scandal of Paris, in playing Biddle, the biopic. And there's also Boris Karloff with a lovely scene, and very crazy, which is a sequence which is funny and sad at the same time. And it's one of those moments in the film that we really feel that the film has liberated itself. It becomes like something free for Douglas Sirk, and not something attached to just like something he has to do within the topics of the genre. And well, Charles Coburn was a fantastic actor, Cedric Hardwicke, and with this English touch, and of course in the novel. So I'm finishing, and yes, okay. So you're throwing me out. So it's not a really masterpiece of Douglas Sirk, but I think it's a great film to discover and to enjoy, and think about the changes of mutations and identity on his films. So thank you very much for your time.